Hello everyone, welcome to another beautiful semester at the Habersham Christian Learning Center.
Isn't it a wonderful day, Mr. Dave? The bus is cranked, classrooms are prepared, and the teachers couldn't be more ready for game day.
Now Mr. Holsey, these students are eager. They've had a long break from the classrooms. They've been training for a moment like this. Personally, I can't wait to watch the game begin.
Me too, Mr. Dave. And you know, one thing the HCLC office is extra concerned about this year is the safety and respect of the students. They've set high expectations, and I, for one, think it's the right choice. You've got to protect the game.
That's right, Mr. Holsey. Well, it looks like the first students are arriving, and it appears, am I seeing this right? It appears that one of the students missed the bus, and he's trying to drive himself to HCLC in a wagon?
This can't be good. I know the referees are going to flag this one. There's just no other choice. When a student displays this kind of behavior, well, let's head down to the field to hear the call.
Transportation foul. Student attempted to drive themselves to HCLC. This penalty will be assessed as one tardy in powers.
Wow! Like I said, Mr. Holsey, the HCLC office is taking these rules seriously this year. That call coming in from head referee, Miss Harrison, he's lucky it was his first offense. And the referee's only charged him a tardy.
You're right, Mr. Dave. If he keeps this up, he's looking at a phone call home, a referral to the high school principal's office, or even removal from the HCLC course.
It's just so great to be kicking off another semester here at HCLC. Expectations are high for these students.
That's right, Mr. Dave. It appears we have two students trying to enter an HCLC class without parent permission. Let's take a closer look at this
You
one.
have your permission form? No, but I don't really think they care and check anyway.
Hey! Flag on the plate! Well, Mr. Holsey, you were exactly right. And the refs did what we knew they would do. That's going to be a flag every time. Let's head down to the field to hear the call.
Attempting to take an HCLC class without parent permission form. This penalty was assessed to both students. Both will be disqualified from the game.
Wow, Mr. Dave, you said it earlier. These refs are taking it seriously this year. Well, it looks like one of the students has turned in his permission form and is heading back to class. What a turnaround.
I'll be surprised if they don't call a penalty here. That kind of attire is not appropriate uniform for a student to be wearing in class. And there's the flag. Like I said, Mr. Holsey, these are students and they need to dress like students. There's a handbook for a reason, and these students have had the chance to review it. They know if they want to stay in class, they need to follow the dress code. It's as simple as that.
There have been a lot of penalties today, and I know these students aren't happy about it. And it looks like someone is attempting to deliver coffee to a student who is in class.
Unnecessary interruption. No deliveries are allowed to HCLC. Result of the play is not being allowed in the building.
Now that's just ridiculous. This student knows the rules, knows her friend is focused in class, and just blatantly disregards it. That's going to be a penalty every time.
Every time. You know, after the start these students have had today, I'll say they're lucky to be in class and finally starting to display some focus. Well, I stand corrected. It looks like the students are in la la land out there, staring at their phones, listening to earbuds. The head referee is going to have something to say about this.
Disrespectful distractions. Untimely use of technology. Results of the play will be confiscation of devices.
Mr. Dave, you've been saying it all day, but these referees are not messing around. A rule is a rule, and if you want to play the game, you have to play by the rules. No phones or headphones in class. It's such a simple rule, but a hard one to follow.
You've got that right. Well, look at this. Several students have left class to try to buy a snack. This can't be good.
No, not at all, Mr. Dave. Everyone knows the HCLC snack store is only open at the beginning of the block. After break time, it's closed.
That's always been the case, Mr. Mr. Holsey. It can't come as a surprise to these students that they're being penalized.
This is why the HCLC office allows for break time. Students can use the bathroom, get a snack or drink, handle their business before class starts. After break, it's time to focus, and these students know it. The refs know it, and that's why the flags are flying today.
Yes, it is, Mr. Holsey. It feels like we've been talking about penalties all day, and yet here are two more.
There are two flags on the play for disrespect of space. Offense, handling of the thermostat by a student. Defense, placing trash anywhere but the trash can. Disrespect of space results in loss of access to the snack store.
That's exactly the kind of call you'd expect with a play like that. You know, Mr. Dave, this is a great building we've got here, and HCLC really tries to take care of it. The students need to treat it with respect and clean up after themselves. It's really that simple.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Mr. Holtze. If they can't take care of this place, they will lose privileges, like the snack store. It's just inevitable. Well, this is a first. It looks like one of the students is trying to blame my co-host, Mr. Holtze, for not doing their assignments. If that's the case, that's an obvious penalty. Let's take a closer look.
Mr. Dave, it's the student's job to do the student's work. It's always been that way and it always will be. As a teacher, you show up, you inspire, you teach, and you hope that the students do their part. If a student is absent, they've got to take accountability. It's their job to handle their makeup work.
Well put, Mr. Holtze. Well put.
Let's check back in on the game. It looks like 2 students are reviewing their notebook. Wait a minute. I can't believe this. These students are snooping in someone else's HCLC notebook.
The referees are not going to like this one, Mr. Holtze. Student notebooks are highly personal things. I know in my day, looking at another student's notebook meant automatic failure of the class.
Disrespect of privacy is assessed on both students. Both students will be subjected to the discipline according to their team's code of conduct.
Head referee Mrs. Harrison is not playing around today. She's had enough of the disrespect, and with a violation as serious as this, she's turning things over to the teachers of these students.
You just can't violate someone else's privacy like that.
I hear you, Mr. Dave. Well, it looks like today's class is finally wrapping up. What do you know? The flags are flying again.
Now this here is a classic no-no at HCLC. You simply do not get on the bus before the HCLC teacher tells you to. That's for the students' safety ultimately. Let's hear from HCLC rule expert, Mrs. Beth, for further explanation.
Hi, Mr. Dave. Hi, Mr. Holtze. Yes, what we're seeing here is a student who took it upon herself to tell the entire class it was time to get on the bus. This is equivalent to a false start in football. What makes this so bad is that everyone followed her. In this case, every student is responsible. It's a simple rule that students cannot afford to break today.
Thanks for that explanation from the HCLC rules expert, Mrs. Beth. Mrs. Beth, do you have any additional insight to help these students clean it up out there?
Thanks for asking, Mr. Holtze. I do have some suggestions for the students. They need to be on time for the bus. As you see in this clip, being on time for the bus is the student's responsibility. If they're not on the bus at the high school when the bell rings, that is a tardy penalty, and they can't afford to rack those up. The students have to remember, whether or not they're late, driving to HCLC is a penalty. Part of the tardy penalty is going to the attendance office and letting them know they missed the bus. They'll have to wait on me to come pick them up, and they'll miss break time, and that is not something they want to do. Another thing, guys, is when a student is absent or tardy, HCLC doesn't process absence notices. They have to turn those in to the high school. If you'll run this clip, you can see the student is trying to give her note to an HCLC teacher, and he just won't take it. This flag may result in unexcused absences because they didn't give the note to the right person. You hate to see that happen. Lastly, in regards to transportation, students need to follow the same rules of respect as they do in the classroom. They need to throw away their trash in the trash can, respect others, keep their hands to themselves. That includes things like these students here. HCLC can't happen the way it needs to if students keep messing with the emergency features on the bus when it's not necessary.
Thanks for that, Mrs. Beth. You know, Mr. Holtze, she's right. Breaking these rules just ruins it for everyone else.
You're exactly right, Mr. Dave. Respect is the foundation of the class. If these students would go back to the basics, the fundamentals, and treat each other, their teachers, HCLC property, and classrooms with respect, we wouldn't be seeing this many flags, and we'd be able to enjoy the class so much more.
I hate to interrupt you, Mr. Holtze, but it looks like we have a message from the head referee, Ms. Harrison.
Due to the massive violation of the rules, HCLC privileges will be suspended. The snack store will be closed until further notice. In addition, monthly trips to Dollar General and restaurant days will be canceled until the students demonstrate they can handle their responsibilities with respect.
I have to agree with Mrs. Harrison here. I love getting to reward the students with Dollar General days, fellowship twice a semester, out to eat, but these students don't seem to be able to handle themselves.
That's right, Mr. Holtze. And if they can't handle themselves at HCLC, I'd have a hard time believing they could behave out in public.
Well, it's been a disappointing display from the students at HCLC today. We've got to hope that these students learn from these mistakes, practice respect, and get more discipline.
I sure hope so, Mr. Holtze. From HCLC Sports Network, I am Mr. Dave. That's Mr. Holtze. We wish you a great semester here at HCLC.